Do you have Base SAS user-defined formats in a catalog that you'd like to move to a CAS format library on SAS Viya? In this video, I'll guide you through the code and administration steps required to transfer your Base SAS format catalogs to a CAS format library so that you can create reports in Visual Analytics with your custom formats applied. This is a VA report with user-defined formats already applied. Notice the slices of the pie and the corresponding legend shows the formatted values for engine size, as well as the drop-down list for cylinder categories, fuel efficiency, MSRP categories, and weight categories. All show the formatted values. Let's take a look at the data item list. Notice in the data item list, these formatted data items are in the category section. And if we hover over each of them, we can see the format applied. Let's actually edit one of these formats, weight. Notice in the format listing, again, we see the user-defined format already applied. You cannot choose the user-defined formats in Visual Analytics. They must already be applied to the source table. Let's review the required code to make these formats available in Visual Analytics. This is SAS Studio, and we're viewing a report of a base SAS format catalog formats in a MyFMT library. You can see this base format catalog includes a number of entries, including formats for the definitions that we saw in the previous report: SIL, E-size, MPG, MSRP, and weight. I've also included a report of the individual format definitions. Let's review the code to transfer this base SAS format catalog to a CAS format library. The first step is to start up my default CAS session and assign my default CAS libraries. Next, I use the cat name statement to combine my formats catalog with the work formats catalog. If you have additional format catalogs to combine, you can add them within the parentheses. If you only have one format catalog to transfer, you can omit this statement. Next, I use proc format with the CNTL out option to create a temporary table of my concatenated catalog. Next, I use proc format with the CNTLIN option to read in that temp table and apply it to my current CAS session and use the CAS FMT live option to create my CAS format library. So my CAS format library will be named My Formats. The next step is to promote that CAS format library to make it global in scope so that I can make it available in my Visual Analytics session. To do that, I use the CAS statement with the Promote FMT Live option. The next step is to save my promoted format library. So I use the Save FMT Live option. And notice I use the table equals statement to name my output table. This table will be stored with the same name as my format library, but it will be stored on disk as an HDAT file. The next step is to apply my formats to the appropriate columns in the SAS Help Cars table. To do that, I use proc CAS util and a format statement. And of course, I'll want to load my SAS Help Cars table into the CAS memory and promote it as well so that it too will be available in my Visual Analytics session. I've included a content statement so that I create a report of my formats to ensure that everything has been applied correctly. And the last few lines of code are optional. If you want to see a listing in the log of the members in your CAS format library or the individual format definitions, you can include this code. Let's submit this code and take a look at the contents listing and the log. As you can see from the contents listing, the cars table has been promoted to global. But more importantly, I can see my formats applied to the appropriate columns. I see my MSRP format, my e-size format, SIL format, MPG format, and weight. If I take a look at the log, I can see the entries in my formats catalog, and I can also see that it too is global in scope. And if I scroll down a little more, I can see the listing of my individual format definitions. Even though the CAS format library has been promoted to global, I need to do one more step so that it's found by my visual analytics session. This will be done in the Environment Manager and requires administrator access. Notice in Environment Manager, you'll see user-defined formats on the left, and in this window, you'll see any globally available CAS format libraries. You'll see the associated entries related to these libraries below. In this window, you'll need to assume the superuser role and access the Format Library Search Order list. And in the Format Library Search Order window, select your format library to the right. If needed, you can change the order of the search list using the arrows at the right, but the most important thing is having your format library available in that search order list. Make sure you save, and once you're done, relinquish the superuser role. Again, you must have administrator privilege to do this process, and it only needs to be done once. These formats will now appear on data items in the promoted table in Visual Analytics. Now I can create a new report in Visual Analytics with my promoted cars table that has my user-defined formats applied. Let's add my promoted cars table and create a simple list report with the user-defined custom formats applied. And of course, my list report shows all the user-defined formats applied. And as I mentioned at the beginning, you cannot choose the user-defined formats in Visual Analytics. They must already be applied to your source table. Now I can create many more summarized reports with these user-defined formats available, like the original report that I started with. Again, these summarized pie charts show the user-defined labels for engine size, as well as user-defined values for the cylinder categories drop-down list, for fuel efficiency, MSRP categories, and the weight categories. You've seen how you can use SAS code to transfer and promote your existing SAS format catalogs to CAS format libraries. You must use the Environment Manager to make sure your CAS format library is available in the format search list so that they'll be available in Visual Analytics. Also make sure that all users have the necessary permissions to access the promoted CAS format library. With that done, you'll be able to create effective summarized reports in Visual Analytics. Please consult the SAS documentation for more techniques on user-defined formats in CAS.